Hi everyone, welcome to the Money Store. My name is AJ. This is a YouTube channel where we talk about La Luz del Mundo and other events and other things around it. Um, Today I have about 10 slides. I'm going to share them and then I'll go through them. I'm going to be talking in a number of different directions, but I am hoping that this video can be an encapsulation of what I've been thinking about lately and also asking for some resources. So I will share my screen and then I can okay, here are my slides. First, I want to talk about some recent the recent citation from the church that the church is standing at. Uh, it accounts for 99.9% that still believe in the central doctrine of the church. You know, believing in Nason Garcia as being whatever he is. Um, this is a number that I haven't heard recently. I don't think they've ever said a number. Of course, they keep saying that that they haven't really lost any numbers of people, that they've actually been growing since the arrest, and that the arrest and all these other events have not actually deterred um this group from growing. And so the claim is that the best claim is that the group is standing at 5 million members. This is something that spokespeople said when Nason was arrested back in June 2019. But since then it's been 5 years, a little over 5 years, and we have not yet heard another number. I think the number continues to be that there's 5 million. But anyways, I as I've said, I wonder when the church will come around to saying that there are actually 6 million members now, that they have reached that milestone. But it's been 5 years and they haven't gotten there yet. But what they will say is something like this, vague, that they have detained 99.9%, not detained, but that they have capped 99.9% of people that have left. But like um, so um, so much of this is so strange because they spend, one can see that they spend so much time in trying to take down these criticisms that they've shrunk in size. But no matter what, the top levels of the organization continue to be under the eye of the U.S. government, facing charges. And then, as of recently today, Univision put out a story about how in Colombia specifically, there's some sort of investigation by the Attorney General in Colombia into how the church is tied to organized crime networks, is the word I'll use, but refer to Isaias Alvarado's reporting in Univision for something that dropped today. And then actually, I'll continue to say that Milenio also has a short video that came out recently, today also, regarding how the church has regarding the letter that Nason, that the top person in the organization has sent out to everybody, that has sent out to the church members. And it's not a pretty picture, but it's also the same sort of picture that has been given before, that of paying no attention and cutting off ties to people that are dissidents of the church, that have decided to take a different approach to it and don't consider themselves as belonging to it anymore. Anyways, different spokespeople or different people that are online will say that 99.9% of people have been detained. And as someone pointed out, that this is the same sort of number that that hand sanitizer companies will put out. And that number means different things to different people, but in different situations, I mean. But it's also understood as being vague, and that it basically begs a question. And if you're super conspiratorial, it's like it's a triple six flipped upside down. But I'm kidding. Another thing I'll say is that this is just strange. I don't know, the PR. If you were to take just a PR picture today, that this is sort of what you get, and it's not very interesting. Well, it is very interesting, but it is not. It is the same story that has been told. It's the same sort of pace of what's going on with the church. But anyways, here are some snapshots of um, Twitter accounts on the church. On the far left is an account with that is based in the U.S. It's kind of been inactive. I don't know what's happened to it. It sits at like 600 followers. Nothing's really gone on there. Here's another one with like 5,000 followers on on Twitter, also known as X, and I'm just so interested in like how the church is so large, supposedly in the millions, at the international scale, and like according to them, they say that they have over 1 million members in Mexico, and that is nowhere near true. And yet, like on X, there's these feeble numbers. I'm just still so hung up on this. I've talked about this before, but I'm still so hung up on this because the only thing that they have released there is this press release that we'll get to in a bit that came out rather recently in mid-August. And um, it as the Millennial Report points out, that one talks about how Nason also sends letters out to members at large, and like that is a different resource and look into the organization than what these press releases are, which are available on social media. And I'm using, I'm focusing on this as like an outlet because it's so strange to see such a low number of 5,000 and understanding how large the site is. And yet, the church supposedly claims so many members and they're just not active on this site, or it's just, it's a very feeble like presence is what I'm trying to say. On the far right, we have Eliezer Gutierrez, who says here that he's a pastor, but I think he's also the spokesperson for the church. And so I'm gonna say right now that I'm gonna assume, and that I've just kind of assumed already for a long time, that Silem Garcia continued to be the sort of main spokesperson, and I think that just continues to stand true. Like this person was sort of reinstated, or at least is still out there talking about it. But yeah, Eliezer Gutierrez, if you go to his social media page, this is just there's just kind of nothing going on. It's just citations of biblical verses and pretty pictures that he finds or something that he takes. But anyways, here's the press release that came out from the church, and essentially they talk about how the celebration of the Holy Supper, most often in mid-August, has gone on uninterrupted. Right now it is oh no, that actually from February to July of these past months, there have been different places that have had Holy Suppers. And so now the Holy Supper is basically a sort of dispersed event. It is not an event right now where, as it was in many years and for a long-standing time, where this neighborhood Guadalajara was the magnet, and just a whole bunch of people from everywhere would come. And every once in a while back then, there were exceptions or changes to allowing this event happening elsewhere, maybe in the US, maybe in Central America, elsewhere. But it wasn't very often. But now, and for a number of years standing in a row, it has been a sort of dispersed, different regional, event that is based in a certain strong locale where the church is present, but those small magnets that are placed in those places are going to attract people regionally. So maybe you'll hold one in one particular country, maybe you'll hold another one in a different state, and a different and like a different set and a set of states surrounding it will attend to that one. Anyways, again, they're just not talking about numbers here. They're not talking about 99.9%. But they basically know, the PR people basically know what that means, and here they're not going to talk about it. And again, I continue to ask, keep on the lookout for when the group is going to say that they reached 6 million, because otherwise we'll just get these sort of vague communications from the organization, and they're not solid proof of like that can change many people's minds. Here's some images that have been shared with me before. I did not find these myself; they were shared with me, and I have talked about them in a previous video. I will remind them here too. That the claim that the church has had 5 million members goes back to 2003. At least in this image, where there's a quotation of there being 5 million members around the world. And this is from 2003. This is from a person called Eliezer Gutierrez Avelar. It could be the same person as that is a spokesperson right now, but I'm not too sure. Here's another image from a magazine in 1994, where there is a claim that there's 5 million members in around the world, and then that there is in Mexico 200,000 people. Wait, no, 1 million and 200,000, which is not true. Which is not true. Because again, as I say in a bunch of other videos, and if you want the citation, I can give it to you. I can give you my resource for this. But the census for Mexico, INEGI, INEGI, in 2021, they released a report wherein they counted how many La Luz del Mundo members there are in the country, and their estimate only reached up to 190,000, and about a quarter of those were underage people, were children, and so people that are sort of born into the church. And anyways, that number is just so low, and either the church has had a gigantic drop off, but it's more so the case that these numbers of ever reaching over 1 million members in just Mexico is not true, and then 5 million members globally is just not true, and has always been an exaggeration that has just been circulating. And again, in June 2019, when the arrests first happened, the spokespeople were citing, 5 million members, but no one was really asking still, and what are more up-to-date numbers? Is there any updating happening? But no, instead you'll get the 99.9 new flashy sort of sound piece to deliver. It's just a meme. It doesn't really do it doesn't do anything other than to just say something new, which again, it's strange that they haven't given numbers, percentages like this in the past. Am I incorrect in saying that? I don't think, and I mean like numbers just specifically. Here they're just using it rhetorically. Like they just have to say that they have plausible deniability for saying that they're just saying this rhetorically, right? Or maybe they don't, but okay, let's continue. And so in the spirit of this previous slide, I will call this next slide, I will call these next set of slides from the archives. And so those are citations of magazines. Here's a citation of a newspaper. Here's something that I found in a newspaper, the Austin American Statesman, in April 1997. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it is interesting in that it it is a rebuttal from people within the church that they put into a newspaper in Austin, Texas, wherein they sort of rebut these claims and worries that were circulating around from various sources, from maybe a particular source or various sources in 1997, because the group, the cult, Heaven's Gate, had their famous pinnacle event of committing mass suicide in California, and from that there was a worries that other groups might do such a thing, or if these groups, or if any groups that existed already were the most likely to do such a thing. La Luz del Mundo came under some sort of microscope from various people, and that event was used to pay attention to them. And so here they take out this whole piece in a newspaper that very quickly I'm going to read through it. I have not read this in a while, but one can quote this saying that that we don't plan to do any such things, such as those done by the group of David Koresh, Jim Jones, or those that took place in San Diego, California, which is Heaven's Gate, to be exact. I think it is such an interesting piece. This person, there's a citation of an interview with a person called George Erdely, and they have some writing on La Luz del Mundo, and it would be super interesting to what they think of, super interesting to think of what they think of the situation now. Let's move on to other stuff. Here is another newspaper entry from the Tri-City Herald in Pasco, Washington, and they are talking about construction that is in Anchorage, Alaska. So the state of, this is the state of Washington. This is the Northeast. This takes place in 5th of April, 2008. There's a church that is being constructed that is just a small model, simplified of the central one in Guadalajara, in the beautiful province. That white pyramid church has this minor version, this mini version in Anchorage, Alaska. And here, I just want to point this out because this is 2008. And here's this claim that there's 5 million members to 6 million members worldwide. This is just a claim that's there. It's not really exactly uh, supported or demonstrated in a thorough way. But even then, the citation, this is just a claim that is laundered into being printed like this, and it is not exactly fully pursued. And I'm not even saying that I'm fully pursuing it. Counting heads one by one, but more so, through these deductions and this long-standing archive of different claims being thrown left and right. One can be fairly certain that the church isn't even at 5 million members, like in reality. And then here on the far right, we have an image of that church I was talking about more in the present day. Here's a interesting image from the El Paso Times. So this would be El Paso, Texas, along the border, and with Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. This is from 7 May 2014. This is the last birthday of Samuel Joaquin Flores, and this is several months before he passed away, like later that year. And then of course Nason was brought in. That was the 50th. That year was the 50th anniversary of Samuel being at the top of the church, or leading it. And here in Ciudad Juarez, there was a painting of these letters here on the side of a mountain, so people could take a picture of this and then send this to Samuel from his while he's in his treatment, taking care of his health back then. Off to the left, so that writing on the mountain is on the right in this picture. On the left is some other church that I guess has put this sign up there. I don't think this is La Luz del Mundo, or if it is, then it sucks, because as we'll see in other slides, this is just strange. And then there was this whole controversy apparently about obtaining permits to do this, and whether those were correct, and then whether this had some sort of negative impact, some sort of environmental impact, or maybe the trash was left there too long. I'm not sure, but there were disagreements that went back and forth, and I don't have it totally set out in my head, but it's just interesting that these sorts of stunts take place, and there are probably other stories of these sorts of strange things that were done. For example, the filming of a church with a drone or with a camera, like a giant group picture, those happen, and these are sort of things that are done as one-way messages sent to leaders, but yet those leaders don't really have a different sort of relationship with how they send information back and present themselves. Anyways, I just found that so interesting. Here's another newspaper, the Valley News from West Lebanon, New Hampshire, 24 June 2018. So this is a year before the arrests, almost a year. And this is a 3-page report on the church that has found its way to New Hampshire, up in the northeast of the United States. On the far left is the second page of that of those 3 pages. Here in the middle, I have an image of some text from the second page, and I'll read from it in a bit. And then off to the right is an image that shows up, I think, in the third, maybe the last page of those 3 pages, and it's just such an interesting image in that this motto of "Secure the Sheepfold" is back there, and the font of these letters is like it's not Comic Sans, but it's this very childlike classroom font, and it's just interesting to look at it. And the image is strange to sit with. Yeah, I think it's one of those rather than a lot of other ones, but there's still a lot of them. Anyways, I'll read from this middle image here, and this is from this is from the second page of this report. It gives a sort of very quick history about the founder, this person, and then the report cites Jason Dormity's Primitive Revolution, talking about the Mexican Revolution and religion, and then talking about the founding of the church. But anyways, and up to this day in 2018, this long report ended up wording it like this. They ended up wording one of the most prominent, the church is one of the most prominent native evangelical churches in Mexico. It has between 1 million and 7 million followers, depending on who's making the estimate, in more than 50 countries. That's what it says here. And then this other snippet off to the side that is way subsequent to that previous passage I want to read from it, saying in 20, this is from the mid 2018, where on Reddit it cites the XLODM Reddit page, and where people have a completely different view of the church, and I wasn't on there at that point, but it's interesting, and the same things as we'll quote here is still ring true. There's these claims that people are grappling with, such as me, where people say you're being manipulated, you're being programmed, you are being brainwashed, you're being controlled, extorted, etc. Wake up, stop being a zombie slave, and I appreciate this different image that is presented, these different quotations and take on the church back then. But again, this is 2018. And so now more closer to actually not yet, closer to the present day. Here on the left, I have an image of from the Deming headlight. This is the 22nd of April, 2008, and this is in New Mexico. And this is an image that that the newspaper carried, wherein La Luz del Mundo, a youth group, apparently did some cleaning around a highway, and they participated in the Adopt a Highway program. And so I haven't found many other claims like this, or many other stories like this back then. I'm sure they happened back then, and I won't deny that they did prior to the arrest of Nason, but they were not so common as they are now, I think, or at least they're photographed and publicized more now. And one way and in which they come from is the social media of the church. And here are two images, for example, where people in Flowery Branch, Georgia, and then people in Houston, Texas are cleaning up stuff, or just doing some sort of volunteer work for the betterment of the collective community. I just find it interesting in that it's much harder to find material from back in the 2000s and more than closer to the present day, which again there's a careful attention to the church's PR, and that's just one way that they try to address it and keep it clean, or keep it better than it can be. Here's some images of an event, the Holy Supper, that was held in Portland, Oregon, I guess earlier this year, some months back, or maybe even a couple weeks back. And apparently they had a gallery of images of just pictures of everybody in the church. So they'll show you pictures all day long, and they'll have all these events everywhere, and maybe the regional ones feel so cool, and then and that it even sort of does make up for the fact that people aren't going to Guadalajara anymore as they used to. Maybe these are cool, but still, they'll show you all these images, but they'll never show you any sort of charts, or be more transparent for you. This is just sort of self-hype for the group, is how I take it. Let me know what you think. And I'm basically done with my slideshow. I want to now talk about writing I continue to do on La Luz del Mundo. I've been gathering a lot of resources and a growing bibliography, many articles, different books, some particularly about the church, or some that only talk about it in passing. But anyways, I'm starting to get to a point where there are certain things I cannot find, and so I want this to be a call for help with finding these books. Here's one by Elio Masferrer Khan. It is titled La Luz del Mundo, and I presume it is from a series. And this book is hard to find. And right here, it has shown up on Amazon at least once, and it hasn't been showing up for a while. But here it shows up at $67 and like about $20 of shipping. And I'm not down to pay that myself. But if you happen to know someone who has a cheaper copy, or if you have some sort of easier way in any way possible that I can acquire this, I would appreciate it. Let me know. So that's one book. It looks cool, and it's about maybe 200 pages or under that. Here's another one that I'm interested in. It is Ataviada para Dios, Esclarecida para el Mundo, Ética Económica en la Luz del Mundo. It is basically, I think, about economics or economic exchange, or like economic relationships in La Luz del Mundo. Do I have it wrong that this is about the church? I don't know what this could be what I think it is. And it is a quite long book, and it came out in 2019. Let me know if you have it. I'm not really willing to pay $30 right now, as I'm still reading other things. But right now, I want to put out that I'm on the search for this. And I have a note up here on the top right with Elsa Lopez Maldonado. I want to say that back in 1997, there was a book from René de la Torre, or I think 1995, from René de la Torre in Mexico. And it came out, it was called Hijos de la Luz. And it's basically about the church. And I have a copy for myself. I would like it in another format. Let me know if you happen to have it and you want to share it with me through some sort of way. Maybe we can compare formats over it. But from the church side, there was a reply that went out from Elsa Lopez Maldonado, I think in 1997 or so. That was a reply to attention that had been brought on the church. And so let me know if you happen to have that. And that's kind of all I have for this video. I'll go back to these slides again. I hope I made a number of these points clear. I'm still gathering ideas with how to put out more videos, and I want to make, and I want to continue to have this be a more regular occurrence. So let me know what you think of this. I hope you can share it when appropriate. Hit me up. I'll have information on how to get in contact with me in the description of this video. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know what you think of this, and continue to charge forward and have your radars on forever.